a bit of introductions about yourself for those who haven't heard about
Yeah,
you?
yeah, for sure. Actually, I'll have a question for you first, right? So,
Yeah.
like, out of everyone participating, right? Like, how many people are like agencies versus like you think go-to-market engineers within a company already? How many of them how many of you guys like still have jobs versus are entrepreneurs? Like, I was really curious about the composition there because I could talk about a few different things, but I think I have one topic that could be
Good
relevant. Anyway.
question.
Do
Good
we know?
question.
Or even if you just pop it in the chat, I'm employed, I'm an entrepreneur, whatever. Like, put stuff there real quick or whatever, so I can kind of get an idea of what the comp
Yeah.
looks like. But as you guys are putting that in, because that'll kind of dictate what direction I could take this in. So I run sales automation systems. I started it because I figured out how to automate my entire job 4-ish years ago. I had a boss at the time. He came to me. COVID had just happened, and he was like, "Hey, can you learn how to do email for the entire sales team? Because you're like the youngest guy on the team, and you're tech savvy." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure, let's do it." And took a course from Jesse Olette, who will be speaking on Monday. So I owe a lot to that guy, way more than you know. And took a course from him on how to do multi-domain cold email strategy stuff. And next thing I know, out of a team of 20 salespeople, everyone else on the team was doing like 50 cold calls a day. And I had figured out how to jerry rig a bunch of cool stuff before Clay was even a thing, NAN was really a thing, all that. I'd figured out how to jerry rig a system that was sending 50,000 emails per day to people who had just recently posted jobs within the last 24 hours or whatever, because that's who my ideal customer profile was for that job that I had. And all of a sudden, I'm working 2 hours a day, hanging out with my wife, only doing sales calls and not doing any more lead finding and go getting, right? I just automated all of it. And my boss hits me up one day and he's like, "Hey, we really need to talk." And I'm like, "Oh shit, like they're going to fire me because I'm working 2 hours a day and mountain biking with my wife." And yeah, pretty crazy. And show up to the call and they're like, "No, actually, we want to talk because you're the number one salesperson. Your numbers are 2x, second place. So what the hell are you doing?" And that's when I realized, oh, like maybe what I'm doing is like unique. Maybe it's cool. Maybe there's like a really cool way to like do this at scale. And so joined a couple WhatsApp groups, continued to learn stuff. Long story short, met a guy who owned a smaller SaaS company. He had completely destroyed his primary deliverability by sending emails on SalesLoft. So even his transactional emails were bouncing for suspected spam. And so I hopped on a call with him. He was my first consulting gig that wasn't in the W2 world, and fixed his primary domain deliverability, completely saved his company. He was connected to a VC guy who was connected to a guy who was connected to a guy that was connected to Adam Robinson with RB2B. Adam Robinson builds his company in public. He's pretty big on LinkedIn if you haven't heard about him or what we've done with RB2B. And he hits me up. We have a conversation. He at first wants me to just do his cold email infrastructure for him and just manage it because he knows everything about leads. He has this guy Santosh on his team who is at Gong, who's been at Gong, Apollo, Zoom Info. So he knows lead gen, but they were smart enough to know that they didn't know enough about cold email. And so he's like, "We want you to do all the cold email infrastructure." And then like 5 minutes later in the conversation, Adam was like, "Screw it. Can you just do the whole thing? Can you do email copy, run the whole campaigns, just completely manage the whole thing?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't know it would explode, but 4 months later, they hit $4 million in ARR from zero. And I made a post that was like, "Yeah, I think we're responsible for about 17% of that revenue." Santosh hits me up and goes, "Hey, before we talk about like public numbers, like we should actually do like a fine tooth audit to like actually make sure." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, no worries. If 17 goes down, no big deal." So we do the audit, and instead of 17%, it went up to 42%. It like tripled. And so all of a sudden I was like, "Holy shit, this cold email thing is working really, really good at scale." At the exact same time, did a consulting gig with a guy named Archie who owned this little tiny company, hadn't even broken past 10,000 ARR yet, called Fixer. And he wanted to see if cold email would be a viable channel for this new AI thing that they were working on. And we figured out that it had really good message market fit. And he was like, "Okay, cool. I'll hit you back up when I'm ready to scale." I was like, "Sounds good, bro." Hits me back up in October of last year. And he's like, "Hey, we're trying to raise funding. And we have a demo day coming up in December. Hopefully we can do a good job and then raise funding in the following year. And so we have money to spend, but we need to move fast. Can you send 1 million emails next week?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I can do that." And so we figured that out. They went from zero to $1 million in ARR within 6 weeks of working with us. And I can confidently say that because during that 6 weeks, we did a big fast sprint. We signed up 2,228 users. One of those users was an enterprise client that became their first $1 million client. It had over 1,000 seats for them. And they successfully raised their Series A. We continued doing cold email for them past that point. Our last day with them was in August of this year. And that's because one of the co-founders came over and was like, hey, one of the features of our product is that we actually block spam. And we have enough momentum going in. I think we're going to hit 100 million ARR without cold emails. And so we want to turn this channel off. And of course, I had disagreements and whatever, but it was like, it's a values-based decision. I can't argue against a values-based decision. Turned off the machine in August, but before we did, we were emailing 8.8 million people a month, signing up 4,260 something people every single month. And we were just that pipeline right there, closed one revenue, full cycle, conversions, PLG to paid, all that. It was generating $4.3 million in annual recurring revenue for them. And if I would have actually continued to increase the funnel to email 60 million people a month, which was my goal, which sounds crazy, but that's only half their TAM, then the machine would have printed about $32.2 million in annual recurring revenue for them. And so my specialty is, in the name of the company, Sales Automation Systems, if I had to say what it was, is that I'm really good at like automating and systemizing things. And I think over the last year, working with so many startups, I've become really good at criticizing offers and thinking about what someone needs to properly do if they want to establish cold email as a channel. We just did a really cool thing in-house. It started off as a like side project, but we are getting into a completely AI agent LinkedIn DMs, and it's cranking it for my guy on my team. It's booking 5 meetings a day from his single LinkedIn agent, and we're rolling that out to people. So we are getting to that world a little bit, but the main stuff is going to be how to do cold email at scale, how to systemize, how to automate things, and all of that. And so coming into here, right? So I see some people are employed, most people are agencies here. So I'm going to lean a little bit into that track a little bit. And so I'm going to quickly go over some stuff, hopefully in 7 minutes. And then my goal is that I can open it up. I don't know, are people who are attending, are they going to be able to like raise hands, like ask questions or whatever? So if I open up for like QA for 15, will that work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so that's kind of my idea, is I'm going to comment a few things that I think I have opinions on, that I think I know for sure other people don't have, that I think kind of disagree with, where I see how most people are thinking about stuff. So that'll be my attempt, is in the next 6 minutes, I can kind of go over those things and then open it up to QA for all you guys to really think about it. Because the main thing I think about when I come into something like this is, how can I help the person listening to this the most, right? Like, who gives a shit about what we're doing or whatever? Because when I was employed 4 years ago, my life was very, very different 4 years ago. That's for sure. So I'm grateful for it and happy to give it back. Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it, bro. So here's a couple things that I think of right away. Okay. One, a lot of you guys are probably using Clay. Clay's cool. I like Clay. I'm not going to talk shit about Clay right now. That's for sure. But I am going to just tell you frankly where I think the market is going and some things that maybe you need to be thinking about. This is probably too new, so it's probably not going to help you with this competition, so whatever. But like, it's some things where, like, we're at the end of the year, I'm thinking about the next year, what are things that we need to look at? And so I'm going to comment about a bunch of different stuff. The first thing is that some of the most valuable skills that I've learned is, and if you don't know what I'm saying, hopefully you're recording this, put it into ChatGPT and it can maybe put you on the right direction how to learn this stuff. But one of the best skills I ever learned on how to automate my entire company. And like, the other thing too, I should make a comment on is we're a $2 million company. We've collected $2 million this year. And it's been 2 employees the whole time. I just hired my 3rd employee a couple weeks ago. And so we basically have $1 million per employee. It's because we automate a lot of stuff. The biggest skills I think you can learn is understanding basic like HTTP requests, curl requests, things like that, so you can do custom stuff. Here's why. Okay. I hopped on a call with Clay's CTO. They wanted to get some feedback from me because they knew I was using a lot of volume. And when I talked to him, he was like, how much volume are you doing? And I was like, we're doing about 17.3 million enrichments every single week. And he goes, oh, shit, I think you're probably using Clay more than literally anybody else. You're probably our #1 user when I look at that metric. Now, if you look at most recent metrics, Eric Nowalowski's kicking my ass on that department. And I'm going to give you a hint as to why he's kicking my ass on that department soon. But we were like biggest users there, and my bill with Clay was $350 a month. The reason for that is because a lot of you guys are using Clay's like normal stuff to, using the enrichments that are built into the platform. And if you just pay $350 a month, you can do unlimited HTTPs. You can own all of your own credits. You get way more cost effectiveness when you do that kind of stuff. You also don't get bottlenecked by Clay's own proprietary stuff that they do to kind of bottleneck the native enrichments that they have. And you can just start cranking it. And so we've been paying $350 a month for Clay for the last like 4 years or 3 years or however long we've had it. And that's it. And we're cranking millions, tens of millions of enrichments every single week. And that's because I learned the skill of how to do HTTPs, how to custom do stuff there, right? But the thing is I also think if you guys haven't heard of this thing called Cursor, that you probably need to think about this thing called Cursor. Because my team, my one guy on my team, James Knoll, he had been using, me and him had been using Clay forever. And we both decided to learn Cursor. Well, I started learning Cursor 6 weeks ago. Okay. He started learning Cursor 5 weeks ago. Dude, see what Jesse's going to go over is going to be nuts. If he goes over how to like build a full SaaS with Cursor, like you guys have no idea how much of a, even Eric Nowalski is talking about Cursor right now every single time. He's not even talking about Clay, which by the way, to go back to something I mentioned earlier, the reason he's doing more enrichments than ever is because he's using Cursor to feed it inside of Clay. You can build some really cool stuff that is way better. One example I'll give you is that I had a NAN workflow and it just did simple onboarding stuff, right? I can't show it, but it did just simple onboarding stuff where it's just like cool, like get them into the CRM, get them into Stripe, get them into our contract software, all of that kind of stuff while running my company and everything that I have to do. It took me 3 weeks to actually finally build that thing. I did it in Cursor last weekend in 3 hours. And most of my work was coming back to Cursor every 10 minutes to look over what it had output and going, cool, good job, or no, you messed this up. Let's do it this way instead. Yep, here's exactly how it needs to work. Great. And so I'm literally just doing other stuff, popping back into Cursor, going, cool, yep, do it this way, do it instead of that way. And it replaced what would have taken me 3 weeks. I did it in 3 hours. And so I think it's a really huge skill to have right now to be able to learn how to use this stuff at scale. James on my team, he yesterday messaged me that we're going to be able to get rid of Clay now, which I like Clay. So we're probably not going to get rid of it. There's like a lot of good use cases, but like we primarily used it for all of our waterfall enrichments at scale. He can get that fully custom built, our entire waterfall from beginning to end, completely just inside of custom code inside of Cursor, and it perfectly links up to our backend database that we're using. There's just a lot of skills right now where I'm like, and the thing is that it's only going to get harder too. The rate at which you got to learn stuff and adapt and like implement it and to be better than everybody else is just going to go faster and faster and faster and faster, which is why rooms like this are cool because the people who are most hungry are typically in here, especially if you guys are here to like compete with each other. Like that's pretty badass. It says something about your character for sure. And then the only other thing I'll leave on with the last minute or two before I go to QA is what I'm seeing on the cold email front, since I'm assuming most people in here do some sort of cold emailing, even if you do maybe a different motion or whatever. But the biggest thing that I could tell you that's coming down the barrel right now is AI spam filters, where you're going to have to be so good at writing copy and understanding the psychology of your buyer and diversifying your copy and having systems in place to be able to understand your data, that if an AI were to read your email, why would it not put your email in spam? That's what you're going to have to figure out this year. We've already figured it out because that's kind of one of the benefits of working with Fixer is I kind of figured out how to inbox to Fixer, which is an AI agent that screens out spam. And so we have it figured out, but that's going to be like a big thing that people are going to have to figure out this year, in my opinion, is that you're going to have to get so good at writing copy that the AI is going to look at your email and instead of going spam, it's going to go, let's put it in the primary, right? And it's going to have to be that cracked is the thing. And so cold email is going to get like really, really hard, which makes sense because if you pay attention to money, Twitter at all, I see a lot of guys that used to teach people to cold email and now they're teaching them how to do AI agencies instead because it's getting that hard, right? So it's industry for the winners. So other than that, those are like the top stuff, just the quick things that I mentioned over. Actually, the last thing I will say is we are working on something. I hate to do a plug, but it actually is something like I'm building this because I think it'll help people out. Is that if you go to outfound.io, I'm debating releasing a product to the public. It's a custom analytics platform that I'm working on. And it's something that we're using for ourselves. And the thing is it's going to have a couple components, but the main thing is to give you the ability to understand all of your data at scale. And the thing with it, it's totally just a landing page website because, like I said, we're kind of like really debating. Like I'm really torn. Like, do I keep it and just stay really, really damn good at cold email, or do I give it out to people? And so we're kind of reasoning through that right now. And so the thing that it'll include with it, right, that we're looking at is like actual giving you insights on your infrastructure, giving you insights on your campaign analytics. So much so, like one example I can give you is like for Fixer, we were hardcore focused on this one version of copy because we thought it was the best at getting positives, which it was. But then we started integrating with Fixer's sign up data, and we found out that the campaign that was in fifth place, when you rated signups, so it was in fifth place based on reply rate, but if you looked at sign up rates, the fifth place copy became first place, and it was twice as better than the new second. And so we have stuff like that built into it to where it's like you can actually gauge the efficacy of things that you're doing. And so like add your email there. If we release it to the public, it'll be there. But it's something like hardcore, like I'm working on because I need the data. Because one of the core principles I look at is like decisions are really, really, really easy when you actually have the data in front of you, right? Like decisions are super obvious when the data is clearly going, this campaign is 2 times better than the rest. It's like, well, decision was made for us on what campaign we should run. So anyways, we'll have what, 8 or 7-ish minutes here or so, right? Or no, 12 minutes. So we can go right into Q&A, right? I'm happy to talk about any of these concepts, like whatever will come in. So start throwing your questions in the chat, and then I will be kind of picky and choosy maybe on the ones that I think are the most valuable to everyone else in the room. Because once again, I think that's the best thing that I can do for people is like, how do I pay it forward for everything that people have taught me, right? So go ahead. If you have cues, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I will try to shift through them, right? Let's go for it. Which beard oil do you use? Dude, it's so funny. I swear, some of you trolls or something like that hopped on one of my most recent YouTube videos, and like all of a sudden there's like 10 comments all within like an hour of each other that are like, what the hell's this guy's haircut? And it's just so funny. I love it. I think it's hilarious. And so what beard oil do you use? I don't know. My wife got me some. I can post that later, you know? What is my most used N8N workflow? Well, I used to have a whole N8N workflow that processed all of my analytics. So it would literally process through the millions of emails we were sending every single month, and it would back end into my analytics. So I was doing something like between all the processes, we were cranking. I had an N8N instance. If you could figure out how to host that thing on Railway, I got a plug for a guy on like Fiverr who like set me up like a really good one. And it can just slam through stuff, and it never skips anything, you know? And so that was my most used N8N in workflow. Can you speak more to how you figured out getting through AI spam filters? Maybe. I feel like that's kind of my custom edge right now. So I'm hesitant. What I said earlier, the framework is if you were to send an email and AI were to read it, how would you craft it in a way to where AI is uncertain enough? Because you have to understand it's going to have a bias towards primary, because the last thing it wants to do is not put an important email in front of somebody. And now you have a CEO who's going, what the hell? Why didn't I see this email? So you just gotta think through that framework. You know, that's probably all I can say about it. For our background, to use Postgres. Airtable is horrible for your business, in my opinion. It caps at 50K rows. The rate limits suck. But even then, at my scale, like I have Attio right now because I got tired of Airtable, and even Attio is too slow for me now. It like I can only read at 100 per second, and I can only write at 25 per second. So even Attio, I'm like, not worth it. Supabase, no, Supabase doesn't scale. Jesse, don't you know? But yeah, like we use Postgres for a lot of our stuff. But also, I have a really crack dev team. I have a developer right now. He used to do database management for banks, and so you have to be really perfect with your background on that. So that's kind of my secret weapon right now, which he's one of the co-founders of Outfound IO with me right now. Do I have a newsletter? No. Do I have a YouTube? Yes. You can just search Taylor Haren. That's Haren, Taylor Haren. And then I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I do at least one post a week there. And then like my main thing is going to be doing content Q1 of next year. That's hopefully my next big job, right? I hear this is splitting the outbound space a lot. ESP matching, yay or nay? So my opinion is, so I actually did one of the largest deliverability tests in the entire world. Let me pull it up for you guys. I can share it in the chat or whatever. And so it isn't actually ESP matching. The thing is you can have a certain type of infrastructure on Instantly, and you can have the same infrastructure on Smart Lead, and you'll get 2 different deliverability metrics for that. And so the main thing there is that in my opinion, it actually depends on the combinations of those things that you use. So it actually matters in there's in the chat for you guys. So the big thing that I learned there is it isn't exactly ESP matching, is that yes, it will get you there, but it's not just that. It is, I don't think it's just a blanket statement. There's also big differences. There's big differences. You can't just say Gmail is Gmail. Gmail, where are your IPs from? Are they from a reseller in India or are they legit? Are they on a legacy panel, an EDU panel, or whatever? Those are all depreciated. If you don't know that, I just made a YouTube video not too long ago about all those crashing out. And then Outlook panels, there's different types. You have Outlook panels where there's a special hack that a lot of companies are doing to be able to create like a bunch of email accounts using Outlook, using something called Azure. And then there's like actual Outlook inboxes where you buy like one Outlook inbox, just like you would, like a normal company would, right? And so there's a lot of different stuff like that that's huge that you got to think about. To what extent would it be feasible for Cursor to build a custom SaaS for you to HTTP? Cursor could absolutely do that. I have custom APIs for, I have internal apps that my team is using right now. Like I just built one, so that way I call it a campaign reset. I built it over the last weekend, where what it does is you can select a campaign and you can create the new infrastructure that you want associated to it, and it'll copy the campaign. It will label a campaign properly, put the new email accounts in it, and then transfer all of your leads from that campaign that haven't been contacted yet into the new campaign. So that way we can swap infrastructure like way faster. And those are all custom APIs across the board. Where do you get your TAM mostly? It depends on who you're trying to talk to. Yeah, super base, it doesn't scale. If you need Postgres, do tell me, blah, blah, blah. Cargo. Cargo looks cool. I have no opinions on it, though. I tried it like 2 years ago, and it seems like a cool product, but I don't even know about it. What secret WhatsApp groups are you in? The SaaS Yacht Club, Consortium, Eric Nowalski's Sales Engineers, Tuesday Triggers, and then I'm in a secret chat where the real sauce is at, but you have to know, you know if you're in that one. Do you learn CRM? I don't know. I don't know if you'd learn CRM. I think a lot of people CRMs are going to be changed up a lot. I just saw a post earlier today of a guy dumping a $250,000 contract with HubSpot because they aren't keeping up. I think most people should. I'm this close to just making my own CRM, and I think I can. Let's see the link. I don't know. Does that link not work? Or if that link isn't working for you guys, then just let me know. Someone can look at it for me. Actually, let me pull it up in a browser where I'm not logged in to my distribute account. Yeah, it loads for me, so it's probably just you. Try it again later. So now now that we're all psyoped into Cursor, how would you recommend non-technical folks get cracked? So there's a bunch of good YouTube videos on Cursor. Actually, you know what? So Cursor, which Jesse Olette, he's going to talk about it, so he'll probably have way better stuff. But like I bought Cursor for like my entire team. And I'll share a couple YouTube videos that I think are pretty cool. This one is a good one from a Cursor guy. And then another one, I like his channel because I'm not a developer. I don't know shit about coding. Like I barely know what Postgres is, but like this guy's channel, the second link here, boom. I really like his channel because he is he talks about it in a way to where if you're not a developer, you can learn a lot of stuff there, right? Let's see. What's the top tool for normies right now? I think even Cursor. Actually, let me put it this way. My wife is not a tech bro. She runs her own business, and she finally got into Cursor this week. And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to buy stupid-ass ConvertKit to email my people who shop from my store anymore. I can literally just tell Cursor to write the HTML and use resend to send the email. I'm like, you're using resend, babe? She's like, yeah, because you mentioned it one time. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's so sick. So I really think it's Cursor. Cursor can just do anything. Like Jesse Olette joked with me like a couple months ago that he clears his Gmail in Cursor. And I was like, what the hell is that? Like you keep up on your emails with Cursor? Now I get it. I do everything with Cursor. Have y'all made anything that lets Cursor handle all tasks in your sequencer? Kind of. I would think about it like this, right? So I don't know if this is the right way, but what I'm doing, maybe I could show you this thing. Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, I can show you this. So like this is an internal portal that I fully built. It has OAuth completely protecting to it with single sign-on. So only my employees could get into it. We have a whole pre-onboarding flow. So this is everything from I'm pretty sure I can show you this. This is everything from like what's the upfront fee? What are the specifics of the contract? What deal is it? This, if I look for it, it will query Attio, which is what I use for the CRM right now. And so it could pull it in so it isn't just, so this completely replaced my form software using fill out. So I just don't even need a form software anymore. I can just make whatever the hell I want. I can like overload stuff. Once again, this is an automation that took me 3 weeks to build, and I did it in 3 hours with Cursor. The other thing too is if you have NAN automations, you can literally copy them, put them into Cursor, give it the context 7 MCP. That's a trick I learned from Jesse. Give it the context 7 MCP so it actually understands documentation properly, and then you can reverse engineer the entire workflow into custom code for yourself. Other stuff, I can't open a lot of these, but like credentials for my team. So if they need an API key or a vendor needs an API key, I can shoot stuff over to them. We use Scaled Mail as a vendor, and I really love them, but I hate their UI. And so but they have an API. So I literally took all their data, reorganized it so I can actually use it and know what my bill is every single month. And then in here, I have a thing where I can pause campaigns for clients. So like in the holidays, I made it real quick to pause during Thanksgiving. And then you could tell it when it's going to resume, and it automatically grabs all the campaigns, puts them through. And then the other one as well is one that resets campaigns. So like this is a full internal portal, and all I'm doing is like each one of these used to be an NAN workflow, and I'm just transcribing a bunch of workflows in here for tools that my team needs in order to do X, Y, or Z. And so it's a fully functional SaaS just for ourselves. And so that's you can build any of that shit with it, which is pretty cool. Let me see if there's any more in the last minute. You got my 3-year-old hitting Cursor right now. She's loving it. Sick. Yeah, like Jesse's talk will blow your minds away because I've learned a lot of this stuff like in group chats with him and just hearing him like talk about other stuff, and he's hopped on some calls, and I mean he really blew my mind with it when I hopped on a call with him. And he was like, oh yeah, like we could build a SaaS like this. And like, we're just talking about like this idea of something we could do together. And no joke, he goes, oh cool. Yeah, let me show you. I'm like, what do you mean? Let me show you. We've been talking for 15 minutes. He goes, yeah, let me show you. He shares his screen and he has the whole app, an MVP fully developed. And it works. He goes, oh yeah, it's going to do this thing. And then boom, it did the thing. And I was like, you did that in 15 minutes when we were just like casually talking on the phone? He's like, yeah. So his talk will blow you away. And that's it. I'm out of time. So hopefully this stuff serves you guys well. And I hope nothing but the best for you.